All right, what's up? Uncle Two back with you once again for our weekly outlook. All right, we're going to talk S&P and Bitcoin because, well, the market's been as such that it's probably last week we ended our video saying that we would get a C to the upside once a corrective move resolved off of this. Well, we got a tiny little corrective and the babyest little a third move for a C. Before we had continued downside, which we were expecting a C, just thought it would be a tad bit bigger than that. And then we had our continued downside move. Now, all we've done is really open up complexity to the overall structure of this. But we have some pretty good things to look at here. I mean, we've got pretty decent divergence on the hourly and the 4 hour. Nothing screaming like it has to be over, but these are decent looks. So we'll go back to the 1 hour. And we're kind of, I hate to say it, in the same situation we were last week. Is that, remember, the reason that we've been so, let's say, agonizing in time is because we really have sort of been leaving out levels that have been unresolved. So if you don't pay in price, you pay in time. We're paying a little bit of price here, but still in the sideways nature of the beast, right? So this is still not as deep as we had initially expected. So it feels like we have some unresolved forces pulling us to these levels. Not that we will necessarily get there. Like I predicted last week, we'll probably continue on sideways in a complex corrective of some sort. So I'm thinking maybe potentially the leader in the clubhouse for me is still, it's going to be the double three. However, I think this zigzag's going to be, maybe this is A, and then this is 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it's going to be like this. A, B, C, and then we're playing out a diagonal, ending diagonal to the low side, which will then usually reverse quite nicely. But I think that we still have some pain left in here. I was thinking that there could be some sort of triangular action going on, but now that we came down and took out this level, that sort of seems unlikely. It could still get extra. I mean, you can never rule out a triangle completely, at least not one that is, let's say, imminently upon us. So I'm going to go to this as my, let's say, current thinking. Something like that. Switch this to white. Now, what this means is, just like when we last week and we only got that tiny little C, I wouldn't be going crazy on any C's, but I'm thinking that we will get a C to the upside when this resolves down. So it's going to have to be, if the diagonal count is to hold true, it's going to have to be less than 1 to 1. So the C should, as we drew this diagonal here, if we come up and touch this 16 or let's say 6732 number, then that diagonal idea is out, and it very well could be out, guys. This is we're in the realm of weirdness down here. I would just like to say that I don't think the weirdness is over, and when it is, we'll definitely highlight that here. But I do see that there's potential for opportunity, and there's, of course, major bearish potentials. There always is. And, I'm thinking about that as I'm about to flip over to Bitcoin. So never put those out of your mind. I don't see, like last week I highlighted one of Bitcoin, the potential, and then it ended up happening. I don't see any obvious expectation for any reason to expect that this week here. I just think that we'll probably make another measly weak little C to the upside before trying to resolve down. Finish sometime after the holidays. Typically these things, you either pay in time or in price, and we often end correctives like this. So we may still well end it that way, but it might grind terribly until we get there. So that's where we're at with this. Nothing special this week. It's a holiday week in the US. I think trading vol is going to be low. it could be very uneventful. All right, so flipping over to Bitcoin, talking about uneventful. This was anything but uneventful last week, which is potentially setting up for an uneventful week this week. We talked about if we had broken structure here, that it would have been on the potential that the confluence at the base trend channel failed, and when they fail gloriously, as it did here. So I did a longer video for the members before this one, just to keep them up to date. And we had talked about this before, briefly, at least in one video, I think in multiple with them, that we were concerned of a potential sideways playing out. So what we have here is, and that was back when this made this low and it wasn't an adequate retracement for the whole thing, but we had the obviously completed impulse. So then, it was either at that point, if we're going to correct it, we're going to correct it deep, which it didn't do. So then you might expect to correct it sideways, which is sort of what we intend to be doing now. It just happened very different than you typically expect. It's a very small C, almost just like that one that happened last week in the S&P. It's like this is sort of a mirror image of it just out here on the daily time frame on Bitcoin. And here, though, what we're seeing is something like this. Gives us a bit of an irregular top to finish off the. I don't like this color for this. Let's go to that. Don't like that either, but we'll keep moving. So put in a triple three or double three with an irregular type top, expanded flat, final actionary potentially. Obviously this could get triple, but you don't see those very often. But hey, you never know. You don't see them shaped this way very often either. What we do know now is that we have broken structure. So we can say that we're correcting this entire structure, right? So we're going to be careful. And I know this is a weekly outlook. We're not supposed to be talking larger degree. We did that for the members again. But we're going to be careful that Bitcoin, it's designed to fuck with you the most, right? So it might get deeper than you expect, and it might end up much more shallow than you expect. This move up has been fairly characterized by relatively, this feels, we've given up in real terms, we've given up 40%. So it's hardly nothing, right? Especially with all the, let's say, old school money, the traditional money that's in this now. So it's been quite the retracement. But this whole move has been marked with sort of more shallow retracements. So there's no reason I would expect the two that couldn't very well be sideways. And then what does that mark? That marks the sign of a bullish underlying trend, and is usually it either usually follows or comes before extended waves. Well, didn't follow an extended wave here. So are we going to get one extended after? Who knows? All right, so talking about the near term, because again, this is a weekly outlook. I just want to highlight we're going into a holiday week here. So low trading volume can sometimes mean lots of volatility, or it can mean just endless sideways. And of late, it's been endless sideways. So we'll see what happens. But as we talked about last week, what this turned out to be was, we'll just call it, without trying to get into the nuance, 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5. So I don't think that at this point we can say that this thing is super close to over, but we're closer to the end than the start. So we're going to look for a resolution of looking here to go ham-bony and get in the next big swing. I hear people talk. I heard people throwing out 15K. So the mood's getting right, but it's gonna batter you down even more. Just like the football game that's causing me to record this late today. So sorry it's coming out late, but at least I got it for you. Let's see. Are there any short-term trades to be had? Maybe short. To be honest, you got to be looking for the next short. This looks like it could be. That's quite the dilly here. Thin dilly on a Sunday on divergence. Yeah, this is a fake. This is setting you up for a short. Typically, they are fake when you see that right to this golden corner pocket. So that sets you up with the potential for a short position if you would be so inclined. Something like that. It's a little 6-to-1 ratio. All right, boys. Good luck with that. I'm not a natural shorter of the market, but that one is 1, 2. Yeah, this one's setting up decently well. There could be a bit of a resolution, but play it tight as usual. All right, boys.